Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to route out this bear hut and mouse house. Don't ask me what it's for, I have no idea. But we're literally just going to do it on this fencing board. The overall length will be 64 inches or 5'4", and it measures roughly 6 inches high. So we've got our template down. Just mark it off nice. If you find the centre of your wood, centre your lettering, and just line your little bit marks up like so. You know you're not going to go far off the centre. We're going to make a little board around this, a little frame. Literally route out the background so the frame is already attached. Basically, I just got the same piece of wood. I went alongside there and draw around it, top and bottom. So that's a nice thickness of our frame. The letters stand roughly 3.5 inches high. We've stuck our template in the right position. We've took our time and spaced it all. We've got our carbon paper underneath, and we've literally drawn around that. And you can see for that, we're good to go. Same for that as well. That way you can use that template over and over again. But hopefully, nobody will ask for one of these. Right, I'll throw the little camera back on the tripod, and then we'll talk about the bits we're going to use. Right, the bits we're going to use today, as always for me, CNC bits, literally to go around all the lettering. They come in different degrees. These are 10s and 15s. I've actually found myself a 20 today, which I just prefer for these bigger projects. They do have a small shaft on them, a Dremel size shaft, 3.175mm. So you will need what they call a collet, and that's literally just a tube with a couple of slits in it, a 6.35mm, 1/4 inch collet, Dremel size bit to go inside, and that will now fit your router no problem. If you don't have a router and using a Dremel with a router attachment, these will fit into the the Dremel no problem without the adapter. We will find a nice depth that we're happy with and literally go around all the letterings. This just makes a nice separation from the chunkier sides to the more, we'll say, delicate around the letters themselves. The last thing we want is to come in with a big chunky piece and lose a tip off one of the letters. This project will then be finished. And after that, because it's quite a large piece, normally I would put on these end milling bits. They're ideal for more detailed and smaller projects. But as this is quite chunky on our fencing wood, remember, I'm going to use some of these straight flush bits. They come in different sizes. It's really some monster of a thing. There's one there with a double blade on. And hopefully we can set it to the same depth as our CNC bit. And we can go around this and blast it off, no problem whatsoever. If it's a bit awkward, we'll put on a little smaller piece, just so we can get right up into these corner pieces here. But that's later on in the project. So I think that's about it really. We'll set our little depth. I normally have a piece of wood handy, something like this. Pick one that suits you, and we'll set our CNC bit to the nice one. Mark it around with a pencil or something, and you know, if you need to come back at a later date, you've got the same depth. So we'll set it to one of those and literally start going around all the letters, and then we'll come back with the other piece to clear it out. Okay, let's start routing this one out. Right, you can see from that I've gone round 3 letters just to get us started. I'll do the rest off camera because once you've gone round a couple, it's basically the same thing, obviously. Now it's cutting really good with those CNC bits. Quite deep is this. I'm going to guess a good 4mm in a 1 cutter, and you can see that powder there. This will all disappear once we do the outset, remove the outer area, should I say. So yeah, it's cutting really, really nice. I'm quite pleased with this one. So I'll continue and do the rest of it, and then we'll get a rough idea where we're going. Right, you can see from that we've gone round all the lettering, basically the same all the way through. So we've seen those 3 letters there. Very powdery is this one. That's no problem whatsoever. That'll soon disappear once we remove the background. Now all that's left for me to do is to route out the line here and the line there just to make our frame. Now there's a couple of options you can do. If I can just show you, I'll place this back on the tripod and we'll have a better look. Right, just a couple of quick options if you're going to be routing out a straight line. Remember, this one's 5 foot long, 5 foot long, so we've got 10 feet of line to route out. So it's enough to do. I'm looking with my router, the old Black & Decker. It comes with one of these micro adjusters, and that just literally slots on underneath. And what you can do is set it to the corner there, the distance you want, and that just runs flush with the wood. If I can just remove that to show you. So you've got your router sat on there. We've set it to our first hole on this corner. Notice I've gone to all 4 corners. So you set the router bit in there. You can adjust this. It's a micro adjuster, so twist and twist. Get it perfect. And literally just slide along the wood like that, and that should give you a nice straight line. Exactly the same on the other side. I've used it once before. It's just not for me. The second option you can do is basically a piece of wood, hopefully the same length. This one's slightly shorter, but I'm not going to be using it, just to show you guys. And you will put your router bit into there, the pinhole we've already made, like so. Slot that in there. Put your piece of wood up so it's flush against it, and we put a clamp on there to hold it in place. Any clip will do. And then you take your router to the other end, put it in exactly the same hole at the opposite corner, and clamp it down there as well. And when it's all clamped in position, I do apologise for this film in my workshop, so small, but if you imagine that was clamped on there, you maybe have to have some woods underneath to support it, or turn it round so the clamps are coming off the end of the tables just here. So that's set in nicely. We'd obviously have the same clamp at the other end, and you're basically going to use that piece of wood as a guide. So once you've got that in your hole there, you can just run parallel with that wood like so, and hopefully you'd route out a nice straight line. I'm just going to do it freehand. That's not showing off or being clever, it's just the way I prefer to do it. I'm not overly bothered if it's not a perfect line. In fact, sometimes it adds to the character of the plaque. However, because you are using the end piece here, remember, to route out, you've not got a lot of balance to play with. So as before, if you want to, you basically just get a piece of wood of the same thickness, and that will slide alongside there. So you have more of an area to work on for your lines, and you can literally slide that along as you go along, or obviously get another plank the same size. Okay, I'll route out this frame all the way around. There's 10 feet of it, remember, and 6 and 6, so another foot at the either end, so 11 foot of lines to do. And then we can pop on one of our straight bits and start removing the background. Right, we've gone all the way round. We've got our framework put in place. Now, is it perfect? Not for now, it doesn't matter. We'll sort that out with a sander when we go around and do our general tidy up with the Dremel and whatever we want to use. So there we have it. It's a good size. I do apologise for holding the camera so much, but I just can't fit it in my little workshop. You can see the space I'm working on. That's my little table there. And that is obviously the length of the project. I've been resting it up against a lawnmower at one time, but you make do. Okay, clearing out the back now. Normally I use these end milling bits. These are actually fantastic, and I will be happy to use this again, but there's such a lot to remove that I'm going to try a straight flush bit, and hopefully it'll just break it off a lot quicker. If we find out it's coming out too quick and it's ripping the back of the board in, if I can just find your piece somewhere, there's a letter A here, and it's just maybe not as smooth as it should be, then we'll go back to the end milling bits. So we'll pop this piece in a router. It's a 1/4 inch shaft on it, so we don't need an adapter collet for this one. We'll set it to that depth there, and then we'll start removing all this background, and there's plenty of it. Right, if I can just show you quickly, I started off with the straight flush bit. It's just a little bit too aggressive, should I say. It'd be hard for you to see on here, but it's just, when I'm getting towards the edges, it's basically ripping the wood off, and it's all popping off nicely. You'll notice that as we go round. But it's not a neater job as could be. So I've gone back to the end milling bits. I've literally just popped on the biggest one in the router, as you can see from there, and set it to the same depth. The good thing about these end milling bits is they route out the sides as well as smooth the bottom at the same time, if you know what I mean. So I'm a lot more comfortable with this one. Definitely pick what works for you. So we'll continue with the end milling bits. Okay, you can see from that it's coming out nicely. Quite good depth to this one. I'll just show you quickly. I know there's proper depth gauges out there and stuff, but if you work out, these Dremel bits are 3.175mm, so let's call it 3. So 2 of those would be 6mm. That's just slightly above the depth of the cut. So I'm going to say they're 5mm deep. I appreciate there's devices out there that will measure that for you, but we don't need one of those. So we've made a start of it, coming out really nice with those end milling bits. I'll just stick with those. Nice tidy job, as I say, but I've got plenty to go at. Notice I've got a clamp there. Look, if I can just show you quickly, that disappears into the darkness, and at this end we have it wedged under a scroll saw. What else would you do? Okay, I won't bore you with the rest of it because it's exactly the same thing. We're just going to nibble at this. I'll do an hour one day, then go away and come back and maybe do something in between. So I'll come back when this has all been cleaned out. Right, we've gone all the way round with our end milling bits. It's a slow process, and I'm sure there's better bits out there that will get it off a lot quicker. But I'm in no race. You can do an hour one day, come back and do a bit more another day. Now the base is still a little bit rough round here. That's just the wood, nothing to do with the bits we're using. But they're all in one piece. The reason why we go around with the CNC bit first is just to separate that section there from the outer section. If you're coming with the big chunky mill end bits, router bits should I say, try and get around here, you're going to break these corners off easy. So I just prefer to cut all the way around, That way you know you're not going to lose anything. Right, just a general tidy up first. Mouse sander, little engraving bits. I use these cheap eBay specials just to go inside, just to say we've give it a go, and then we'll skim over with a mouse sander, and then we'll look at the painting side of things. Right, that's enough sanding down for me. It's near enough for what I want. It's not my favourite thing to do, to be honest, but we'll get the general idea. Now we're going to paint this one today, totally painted. Normally I'd like to leave some kind of wood on the project, but I know where this one's going and I know who it's for, and they've asked for it to be totally painted. So all I'm going to do is literally the white background, painted such white. So we draw the background white, just get that painted on, and then we'll give it a light sanding down, just in case we've come onto any of the lettering at the front. And then we'll go for the black, just a satin black, wood and metal paint, nothing too fantastic. And we'll just paint the top of the letters here, and the framework all the way around. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. The white went on really nice, followed by the black. We've painted the frame. You could have left that wood if you wanted to, but I'm quite happy enough with that. It's a good size, remember, 6 inches by 64 inch. Just get away with painting the top of the letters here, as you can see. And that works out fine. We've sprayed on 3 or 4 coats of our crystal clear. Just give it a nice shine, you can see from there. I do apologise for moving about. My little workshop's just so small I can't even get this one in, no matter how far away I get with the camera. So there you go, that's it, we are done. So as said, 6 inches by 64 inches, bear hut and mouse house, routed outside on fencing wood. Thank you very much for watching.